Welcome to today's Photography 101, and today's topic is how to become a good photographer. No, correction, how to become a great photographer. Welcome back, and for those who are joining us the very first time in this Photography 101 series, you probably wouldn't understand or don't know what this entire series is all about. Well, it's actually about you guys, and Photography 101 is about sharing my professional knowledge and also trying to help you guys to become a better photographer. I know today's title is about how to become a great photographer, but it's less hands-on. I'm still gonna talk about psychological stuff because, you know, I really hope you guys will be patient and listen to what I'm gonna say before you start hitting that shutter button. There is a lot to learn about, but before you have the right mindset, it's always very tricky to become a better photographer. For instance, a lot of people always, when they first pick up camera, they would get all excited about, you know, the latest gear, the latest lens, whatever. They will try to run before they can even walk or even stand, for that matter. So this is something I want you guys to just slow down and think. Being a great photographer is very difficult. Let's go a step backward. How to become a good photographer first? Well, anyone can be a photographer these days. You know, you pick up a camera or pick up any equipment that can capture images, can be a photographer. But to become a good photographer, you know, you have to understand basically most of the basics, like the exposure triangle, for instance, you know, the relationship, the technical relationship between, you know, all of these elements there to making sure that you have the shot completely correctly exposed. So it's actually not that difficult from that standpoint, but to become a better photographer, you have to start understanding like compositions and all the leading lines and all kinds of things, like in terms of foreground and background interests, and also your subject. So it's very important to understand all those relationships on top of what I just talked about, you know, the technical side of it. So a good photographer will have all those knowledge about, you know, the technical exposures and things like that, and also about composition. But once you master all that, how to take it a step further to become a great photographer? Well, that's the tricky bit, because not many people can reach that sort of level, because you have to have extra stuff that I'm going to talk about now. First of all is patience. Well, it's not just about waiting, and that I'm going to talk about. It's about understanding about the waiting itself. Let me give you an example from one of the greatest masters in street photography is HCB, Henri Cartier-Bresson. You know, his work is just magnificent. You know, some of the things that I really truly appreciate is how he created those shots. People always say, you know, he just took the moment, you know, of the shots, you know, but it's not as simple as that. If you just looking at some of his greatest shots, you know, in front of the Brooklyn Bridge, for instance, or the jumping the pond, things like that, he actually visited those places repetitively every single day until he understand the lighting angle, the atmosphere, the weather situations, and also what sort of people likely to hang around that sort of area. So he took all those elements into account, and almost like calculation, to making sure that that is something that he would like to see. And then he would go back to that place. Hopefully, you know, like things will all come together at the same time. So this is how his mindset usually works. That this is something I want you to understand as well. It's not just about pick up your camera, go to a spot and just snap throughout the entire day. You may be lucky, which luck is another thing I want to talk about. You may be lucky to capture one or two great shots. You know, don't get me wrong, it happens, and it happens to a lot of street photographers as well. But something I want to talk to you about is patience. You know, if you don't have that, sometimes you just can't get that shot. Second, I want to talk about being creative. And yeah, creativity is something that I don't know how to teach people. It's sometimes come from your mind, sometimes come from your personality, something can be quite natural to some people, but things can also be taught and also utilized from time to time. Yes, I'm not saying, you know, like you can be creative all the time, because even the most creative persons in the world would also have those blank moments. And me as a professional who work every single day, who taking photographs every single day, you know, I sometimes don't have that creative juice flowing with me in the morning, and then we just think that, you know, what should I do with my clients today? I mean, I cannot get those photos that he or she may like. But the thing is, you know, once you become a professional, you have to develop a certain standard, and so that means that you have to have some sort of elements that you may want to include in your photography, or almost like a recipe to create some sort of great photographs, or good photographs at least. And so this is something you have to understand how to do that. So this will be some sort of basic you create, and almost like, if you put it that way, if you're editing in your Lightroom software, a lot of people may like to apply presets, and presets is almost like those recipe. And so when I go out with my client, even though my creative juices isn't quite there, my mood isn't quite there, but I always have those presets in my brain, or recipe, so I know what sort of shots I would definitely do to make sure they will satisfy their requirements. And most of them will always say lovely, cool photos. And yeah, this is what you really need to do, to develop that sort of presets. So this will be your base level, just to become the greater creative photographer. Then of course, you know, like creative baseline is only one thing, but to take it to the next level, you really have to start exploring all kinds of compositions and angles of shooting as well. A lot of people would like to use different perspective in terms of angle, like low angle, high angle, side angle, extreme angle, all kinds of things you can think of, but also is about utilizing different focal length as well, because focal length will create different sort of impact into your shot. Most people would like to shoot with a wide angle just to give you extra drama there, because that will suck in a lot of the environment into the frame, while some people, you may like to some very tight composition, and then we use a tele lens or medium tele lens to shoot certain elements of it, or even the subject, trying to crop in tightly with their features, for instance, and to give you that really kind of intimate shot. So this is something you have to start understanding about different focal lengths, because they will play a big part in your photography. By using a zoom lens, just constantly zooming in and out doesn't really help. I know there is no argument about what is better, primes or zoom, but I'm simply saying that, you know, choose a focal length or master a focal length, then you go from there. It's much easier in terms of training your eye or training your feeling in photography. Last but not least, what about equipment? Well, do you need the latest and the greatest? No, absolutely not. You don't need that at all, because all you need is something that can capture that moment for you. And any camera with that functions, basically can do operate different shutter speed and aperture from the lens, is done. It's fine. It's cool. Even your smartphone can do the job, and you don't have to worry about too much about it. You know, like I mentioned earlier, features would help, but it's not necessary. And all you need is just a decent camera. You know, if you're really serious about photography, yeah, get a better glass, and that will, you know, improve the image quality, not necessarily the image itself. But anyway, so this is something I want you to understand. Rather than spending the money every single year to upgrade your camera, why don't you just go and travel and just see the world and explore, you know, more, and get some greater shots all around those places that you visit. And this is something that I think you should be considering, and especially in today's digital world, you get new model every single year, which I think just going a little bit crazy. In my film days, and I used to use my SLR, you know, I used it for 10 years before I even thinking about upgrading. And I use the same lens, you know, I don't have to spend money. I mean, I spend money on just buying films and developing them, but that would be it. But today, people are drawn into like the latest features, the latest camera models, whatever, you know, like, and the camera would depreciate so quickly, and they waste so much money in upgrading, and then eventually all this money you could possibly save travel around the world is spending on gear, which essentially the same cameras from last year's model, just by adding that little bit. I mean, process is slightly different. You know, for instance, I'm myself, you know, because I use it so much, it will literally break down. So that I need to get one for reliability purposes, like I mentioned before in one of my one-on-ones. And so this is something you really should consider. If you're amateur or you're just not making money from photography, but you are serious about photography, then you should think about what I just said. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and don't forget that photography is about enjoyment and also creativity. Yep, it's not about gear, so let's put that aside and think about photography and remember how to take better photographs. And slow down, don't jump and don't run. You know, just trying to learn to walk first before you're trying to do something crazy. And yeah, you can share some of your photos on our Facebook page or even our website, because you know I'm constantly there checking out people's comments and things like that. It's new, so it's not much there going on at the moment, but it's all about you guys. So if you guys start posting things in there, and if you can ask me any question, I'll try to give you some constructive comments. There you go. If this is your first time here in our channel, don't forget to subscribe as well by clicking that button there, and also stay notified by clicking the bell little notification thingy, so you know when our new videos coming out. And also, you might wonder where I'm at the moment. This is a beautiful Eltham Palace. It's one of the English heritage sites, definitely worth checking out. Yep, go on here and have a great run as well. You know, you definitely can take some gorgeous photo here as well. Beautiful place. So until next time, see you then. Bye. Woo!